When I first found out that I was supposed to play, the full grown adult version of me was supposed to play. I kind of didn't take it seriously. I figured that it was just a nice token, this idea of play. And I kind of found the whole thing very foreign. See, I considered play, if I really got down to the brass knuckle tacks of it, play was a reward for effort and achievement. And usually I would find there wasn't enough time for the play that may have come at the point where you experience the achievement. When I was told that play was actually part of a healthy, balanced adult life, I really struggled. I kind of felt confused as well because I didn't have that in my belief paradigm. I thought play was something you leave behind in childhood and that it was now a frivolous activity that were for those who were lazy or wasting time. Now, you might be listening to this and going, oh my God, that's crazy. Was she delirious? But the truth of the matter is, many of us, maybe unconsciously, think the same thing. And when it is brought to our attention, which often is something I bring to the attention of clients when I do an initial session and we have a look at the balance of their life, play is very often right down there in the lowest rating that they give themselves out of 10. And I know what that's like. And I know that making it a priority and a higher value can feel like an impossibility. But the thing is, play is where we experience the sacred part of life. So life is not all about survival. It needs to be equally balanced with the beauty of the sacred. The sacred are experiences where we really kind of step out of the pressure of time. Children do it really well. They don't have that perception yet, the pressure of time. And we kind of step out of time and space altogether. So play often feels timeless and we lose track of time. And it's in these moments where we give the monkey mind, the ego, a break. We actually fast from that overthinking, overanalyzing mind. And ironically, or perhaps it actually makes huge sense to you as it does me, you receive insight and guidance and wisdom in these moments of play. Why? Well, you're opening up to receive information that doesn't come through the filtering of the mind. So you're not filtering it out according to the programming that has made up your set of personality traits and perceptions and beliefs of what is possible and what should be in your life experience. So that's why they say often it's a similar idea. Play is like rest from the mind, from the overactive mind that we often give the master key to instead of the heart. So just like you do when you go to bed and wake up refreshed and have a new idea or insight about a problem you had the day before, play provides you with these opportunities as well to receive the subtle or the profound in moments of grace, in flow, when you are not pushing for certain results. You've let go. Play doesn't have an intention to do, produce, and achieve, to be productive. Play is in its very nature outside of all of that. And that's why it can be so difficult for us as adults who've been taught that play is perhaps a reward for when all the work is done. It can be so difficult for us to just accept that play is important. Now, I want to share with you my story of play. Even until recently, I wondered how I could play more as an adult. I went through the usual suspects of what play was supposed to be. Running around playing tag in a park, going to a video game arcade, swimming in the ocean, creating artwork. Play to me conventionally was interacting with others in games and humor and laughter and rolling down hillsides and painting the rocks with water and watching the patterns that come about when you swirl your feet or your toe and dip it in a pond. So I had this idea of what play was, but I also struggled to want to do a lot of these things. And I thought, well, what's wrong with me? I don't want to go swimming in the ocean. I don't particularly like the sand. I don't want to paint all the time, even though I am an artist and I enjoy creating a masterpiece. I don't feel like it a lot of the time. I don't want to socialize with others when I'm having downtime, unless I have the energy or I've had enough rest and relaxation. And often I wouldn't give myself enough rest or relaxation. So often my downtime was shying away from socializing. And I would find that in those moments where I felt the part of me that wanted to be alive and delighted in the moment, the playful part, just felt so suppressed and lost and stuck behind confusion and brain fog about what play was. I enjoyed nature, but often I would include exercise when I would go out into nature. So it was also, in my mind, being productive. So I struggled with being able to just go into nature to play. And then recently, I explored an idea that I was shown that my play, and maybe you'll resonate with this, is about storytelling and stories. And I've always been drawn to a good story. In fact, when I was a little kid in school, I would write stories, make-believe fictional adventures, and the teacher would have me read them out because he was delighted by the stories I'd written. And I found myself reading and devouring so many books and going to the library every week as a child, and even into my teens, I would have a lot of books. And then in my 20s, I got a job at Blockbuster and I devoured all the movies about stories. And I got to a point where I stopped giving myself permission to just enjoy a make-believe or imagination story from the imagination that wasn't based in solid, evidential, realistic, real-world experiences. So I went to nonfiction and I made all of my learning now about nonfiction. So I stopped playing because I gave myself this rule that if I was to read or watch television even, I had to be learning something. I had to be productive. And so this whole program was running where play was still a reward. And I never got to the reward because there was always more I could do and achieve, put effort into. So I really recognized that little storyteller that was stuck inside of me that wanted to express herself again as a full-grown adult and show me that play for me was in stories. And I had this epiphany. And maybe you do have this experience as well, but I have been having the most creative and imaginative and awe-inspiring dreamscape adventures every night when I go to sleep. This has been happening for, I would say, a good 5+ years, possibly longer, where I actually look forward to going to sleep at night because I get to go back into stories. And I don't know if these are other dimensions or realities. I can only speculate. But what I do know is when I'm in my dream lands, I am enjoying exploring and enjoying this experience of stories again. And I wake up often with a message for my waking life, for the ongoing journey I'm on, the quest that I put in to be more aware and more conscious and to be at peace as well with who I am, to be in self-acceptance. And I find that if it wasn't for these stories, how would I be enjoying that part of life? And that's when I made a decision. That's when I realized, well, nature is trying to equilibrate me. And if you think about the Hermetic principle, the principle of rhythm, so the principle of rhythm, the pendulum swings and manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. And this is basically saying that if you're blocking or avoiding or neglecting a part of your waking life, then it will find a way to compensate. And often it can be in an extreme way, because we've got to get that rhythm swinging all the way to the other side before it can come back to a nice balance in your life. So for me, I recognize these extreme dreams every night were the fact that I was denying so heavily any kind of playful storytelling in my waking life. So it just swung in the complete extreme opposite direction. Now, that's what I have perceived is going on here. Maybe you have a different idea. However, I have benefited from this insight, and I have seen that it kind of gave me permission to start to get into and read stories again, fiction stories about nothing related to productivity or growth or mental, emotional, spiritual, or physical growth in this world, but just for pure enjoyment and delight, to read stories, to watch stories, to write stories again. And I started writing a sci-fi book, which I'm actually enjoying the process. It's been a long time between picking up the pen and writing a fiction story, but it's absolutely a part of play for me now. And I see that finally. So how in your life are you actually denying play? And how are you finding that that is compensating according to the law of rhythm? What is not quite balanced in your life because you've been denying yourself the pure pleasure of play without a reason beyond delight and enjoyment? I think it's really illuminating to have a look at that in your life, because we absolutely need to play. Play is not just for children. Play is an important part of being instead of doing. And speaking of being, I realize that as I'm learning to be okay with not being so productive all the time and not making every waking moment about achieving, as I'm learning to play and relax is a big one, I am recognizing some of the language I'm using. So I used to greet my two kitties. I've got two cats, and I used to say to them, "How are you doing? How are you doing, Flower? How are you doing, Lexi?" And of course, cats can't answer back. But I realized I was kind of projecting the program that was running within me onto my cats and probably anyone else that I meet. How are you doing? So really, the question is, what are you doing? It's all about what people are doing, what cats are doing. And I decided to replace that language, because we all know the power of the spoken word. We are casting spells when we speak, and we want to be careful what spells we are casting. And so now when I greet my kitties, I say, "How are you being? How are you being? Flower, Lexi, how are you being?" And of course, they don't answer back. But how do you answer that? There is nothing to say. And that is very peaceful. Imagine if you were asked that. You'd be confused. There's no human language to actually answer that. How am I being? Because there is no doing words when we are being. We are just are. We are here, now, present, in this eternal moment. And it is extremely peaceful. And this is how we can learn to relax. So I would encourage you, change your language and change your experience around you, the perception, the lens of perception. So I encourage you, find out how you can rebalance that play in your life and how you can practice being instead of doing. I hope this has been helpful. Please like, share, and subscribe, and have a beautiful day. See ya.